And now I'm recording some lecture with it's on YouTube. Okay. Anyway, many a year friends. David. So in JavaScript, open with live server, and this is what you people have done. Congratulations. My dear Pam.
Beginning, no sample, no carousel.
Better carousel.
Later,
You are the one in charge.
Later, no, I'm sure, okay. Now, let our friend say carousel.
It works fine, but it doesn't really do. It works fine, but there are little challenges in here. Responsive part is what separates you as a developer from the rest. Right? So having a look at it, let's resize it. Open. See there's this space hole here, then this whole space here. On top of that, first of all, let's talk about it. Why is this not white? Or maybe a name for the, how do you call it? Whatever names that you can come up with. Right. This thing can stretch from here to here. Alright? Okay. On top of that, when you become smaller, this is how it looks like. Let's reduce it to this one. So I don't like it. It is unnecessarily slim. We're a bit more, but this can just move this way, and then you can reduce this one a little bit for us to show. On top of that, this one is the most annoying part of all of them. But this one is really easy to do, like just this part. I don't know why there is still this space. On top of that, when you see the footer, way annoying. Anyway, I think people should fix that. It is an easy work for you people to do. I don't know why for the past 3 whatever weeks, too many years had simple thing. And it's not like one person is doing it. It looks great here, right? But when you move to even here, the footer is not well done. Right. So maybe you can take the paint and then fix the footer and run a class image. Up until now, people have not done it. Offer and run. Offer.
Yeah, my friend.
When you see the footer, see this part. It's way off. At least it should be in the middle. Tell you what, someone assignment we in class in Japan by Friday. Seriously, what's today is today? Today is fine. Fair enough. Let me give you a grace period. Monday. Scanner there. Shit. Shit. If anybody will come here again, you're paying different money. Alright. And the annoying part is it's not like, anyway, when you check the header bit too, at least you should create some space here between these items, right? The sidebar is okay, it's well done, right? I like it, right? But this is the part that's pissing me off. Leaving the crap on it, you can create some. See, there are no spaces in between. Besides, this whole page side day white. This whole side page day as white. And you are importing the images anyway. You are using the images anyway, right, in your CSS. So whatever it is, data size that the client is using, you've imported all of it into their browser and see what you are showing the person. After using my data, you show me this scanty image. Why not make it a little bit bigger? So say, don't you know there are old people who will look at your website with eye problems? Think they will see. Unless maybe I zoom in, and when I zoom in, I then distort the whole layout. I should be able to see at 100% all that you are doing without having to even squint. Right. It looks okay, but well, for me, I'll make the images a little bit bigger. Okay. Then move this thing down a little bit. Margin bottom, 1 rem is okay. All right. Won't make us myself. For Christ's sake, the footer is okay, but usually, right, what I want us to look at is, let us look at, because what we are building is a clone of the actual thing, right? Okay, so if I put this side by side, which one do you think, if I'm a rational person, I'll choose? This is what you guys have done. Alright. This is what you've done. You let us come to the carousel. That's exactly what I'm talking about. See, they utilized all of the space here. So why do you have your white space here for what? One thing you should always keep in mind is that if you are building a clone of something, right, yours should be way better than what is already there. An example, if I'm coming up with a new mobile phone, right, or a phone that should rival iPhone, I should build a phone that either will transport the human being from here to Takrady, right? Which means it has a leverage over an existing iPhone, right? Or I shouldn't even build it at all. And it always brings this argument of why is now Jumia taking a bigger size of the market share than Tonaton, right? And I'll tell you that look at the website of Jumia. Let's go to Jumia. So Jumia, then put it side by side. I'm not saying that is the only reason why it is, right? But let's start from their business model, for instance, how they are operating. And a website is one of their model of selling, getting in touch with their customers, right? Right. See their website. See, I can see this image without even looking, squinting. I can see it. It's a shoe. It's a big shoe in this. That. And it is how many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 6-column what? Layout. I know you've forgotten your CSS grade. The bois. Can look correct. Refi. But it's a 6-column layout. It is display grid and grid template columns. Repeat 6 times. 1 FR. Simple. Then you have your images. I don't know how they utilize their image, but let us check for it now. Let us see, and it's just encompasses all the concept that we've talked about. At this point, it is 2-column layout. All right. And reduce it further. Let's see what does it do. They still keep it like that, but reduce it to mobile. Okay, they let it scroll a little bit, but that is why I always say that you will always have the leverage against an existing. No matter how good a company is, they'll have a weakness. All right. Out of the back, if you are any serious competitor, you see that, or a developer, you realize that they don't have a really mobile-friendly website. right? So that be where you can capitalize on and be like, yo, Charlie, that thing on desktop it looks great. On mobile phone, it looks just badass. Right, okay, so assuming that is the concept you're coming up with, see what your own looks like. You even have the decency to even create, how do you call it, a menu bar here to say, so you for now, self, you make a put them there. Self. Nah, we giants are. And this is what you have. But you can make this thing even better. Way better. I'm not saying extraordinarily, but you can improve on the size of this one to be like 90%. And it's not difficult to implement. And I've taught this particular subject for a while now. That was what we did throughout last year. So if I've done all of that and still you cannot come up with these things, then I have a problem with you guys. So like I said, if by Monday, and I mean maybe I'm satisfied. Alright. If you watch what's it? Turn out the junior, see their footer. Let us let's go back. Why are we having this problem? Anyway. Sometimes my computer, I don't know what's wrong with it. So why are you not moving it? But you realize that their footer is complex a little bit, but it looks nice. Okay, so after building this, what the underlying block is that it should look better than Tonaton, which is what you are cloning. The next one you guys will build will be Junior. So if you think Tonaton is a job, guess what? Junior is what? And if you but why is my page not behaving? Okay. Alright. If you check their footer, well done. See, even if it is, you will see things running through like layout. It is how many column layout. Let's just focus on this part. Be like this one is different from just this one. Right, from this side. How many column layout? See, you just put in your element. You spend some time trying to let your text look better, like how it is. Right. So there's this thing that has always stuck with me. So the way you do anything is how you do everything. I don't know if you understand. The way you do anything. Where is it? Where's your work? Work in the crowd. Close it. Alright. The way you do anything is how you do everything. So if you work like this is exactly how you translate to this one. Right. Front-end development is not really hard. It is just annoying because you will only have to spend a lot of time just fixing margin padding, and font size and all of that. But well, that's a job that you chose. Nobody said you should do anything else. You could have been a doctor, but this is what you chose. So you can't complain. I don't like the footer at all. At all. And push it on website itself. You over. That's it. Your footer is not really complex. Not really complex. It's just there. And if your post don't count, it's a 3-column layout. On top of that, if this is where you're having the challenge at that, you don't have your apps and those things yet, right? So you just don't add this part. You just do your Facebook connect and take this one out. Okay, you take this section out. Assuming it's just a 3-column layout with a heading, This one. How difficult is that? If we have to sit behind and for us to do it, we finish it in 30 minutes. What? If I start to so. But if I start to so, 100 Ghana. Say me in 30 minutes. So difficult. Just UL with LI with an A tag. Let's inspect. Maybe that is not what they might do, but probably 9 out of 10. That's what they will do. I'm glad I've not seen the code yet, but this is JavaScript. They don't share. Yes, and it's even great that we've seen this. All right, good. You see that they will have a lot of script. All right. It means that they are not using one JavaScript file. They are using how many? More than one. So this one is about text. You see why I always say that it is good to know how to write proper JavaScript. Proper. As a professional. When I see this, right, I become sad. And it's not like I'm flexing. But it's sad to see some of these things. I swear my mother is great. Right. Enough. But as we go further in the JavaScript, how do you call it, journey, when you see these things, you understand how I feel. Let's see what they are trying to do. And you only add in. Oh Jesus.
So where is that
The footer will be after before the script. Is after? Yeah, before the script. This is the head. This is the body. App container. Okay, good. So, assuming that you get employed by Tonality, right? True story. You get there and then this give you this as their source code. Why? Why do you laugh? And this is a lot of challenges most developers run into, where the person who wrote the first code is a very foolish person. Or if not a foolish person, if not a foolish person, well, at that time, that is what he knew. And let's talk about something. Let's say, anyway, let's finish this and then, yeah, let's talk about that one. So let's close this one. So the base, the how do you call it? The foundation on which you build your JavaScript project is usually CSS and what? Alright. So your HTML and your CSS, you can never run away from them. It might look like there's no importance or significance to it, but like I explained earlier on, why JavaScript will win the race against all the other programming languages. Like the point I don't know, like the point I made the last time, right? Then you really can't downplay the basics, because it's on the basics. It is from the basics that we can improve on or build other things on. And the basics is what HTML and CSS. In programming, it is not cool to know HTML and CSS because they think that knowing things like algorithm, anyway, is much more cooler than knowing how to build HTML and CSS. But I'll say no, that's not really the case. You because you wouldn't need HTML if you don't know HTML, right, and CSS and how to do simple layout. How then do you implement your JavaScript? Because at the end of the day, the client or the customer will not crack open your, how do you call it, your browser to run the code for you. All they care about is what they see in the, how do you call it, the DOM. And it better be well laid out, no matter how cool or fancy if you've written your JavaScript file. I mean your JavaScript language or program or your code. Sorry, whichever way you understand best. Anyway, so far do you understand? Are you sure? Yeah, sure. Okay. So then if I want to add JavaScript to my code, what do I do? Thank you.
You can either add it at the top or the bottom.
How?
So at the top, you write script.
I write my script here.
And the source.
You see when we inspected the standard on the script is away.
Come
The script language was at the bottom.
in.
Yeah. In that point, in that case, where you overpopulate your heading, let's just say you have your source is GS, right? So let us recreate this. There's a reason why I did it. Alright. So, assuming there is. Let me talk about this one first. So, let us write the fair. I'll come back to that point later in a few minutes. Alright. I can add more than one JavaScript file. What do I mean by that? I can say that. Let us assume that I am I'm using another library that is coming from another JavaScript file. So I can say main.js, right? And then I'll say console.log main, right? Okay. How then do I use first of all, let us open the browser with index file. What is it? We have this put here, inspect. Let's check the console. Right. Let's bring it somewhere here. Okay. If we check our JavaScript code. We check our JavaScript code. It is only this one that's working. This one is not. So we've not added it. So we can add it by doing Control Shift. Where's my Control Shift? Yeah, 1 second. I want to make this a little bit big. Control Shift D. Oh. Then I can do main.js. Then I have my main method. So let's say I'm using more than 10 JavaScript files, right? So it means that I'll have my head being overpopulated with plenty script files. Right? So to make it look a little bit tidy, I might elect to do it at the bottom. You get it. So it is not like sometimes the developer is not good, but looking at how eventually your code will turn out, it might be great if it's at the bottom. Understand? Right.
So
So
we can't write one script to cater for all the thing.
very good.
It has to be one.
A very good question. That brings up what we call bundlers. JavaScript bundlers. What do I mean by that? An example of a JavaScript bundler is Webpack. Let's go to it. It's called Webpack. Say Webpack. Let's open it. So bundle your assets, write your code, and then export it. Wait, it doesn't say much, but what it does is that as you have multiple files like this, right? It will run all of your multiple files. You only have one JavaScript file. Usually you see something we call bundle. Yeah. Right. And it will run all your JavaScript file and then put it in one file for you. What do I mean by that? Let's go to my GitHub page and let me show you. Let's say, let's go to github.com. I hope you understand what I'm doing. So let's go to your repositories. Yeah. I don't want to clone the whole project, but if you take a look at this, let's go into the source folder. Let me clone it. Too bad. Let's say Git be really fun. I still don't agree. So cd into JS shopping. See how to use it. Just code opens. Like that. Alright, so let's inspect this code. Alright. So if you check out the source folder, you see that it has JS and a lot of JavaScript files. We have this, we have that, we have this, but only one index file, which is this. And I realize that the index file is importing all of these JavaScript files. Let's say in this particular situation, oh come on, we have the model, which is this folder, and then it is importing products model, which is this one, right? But if you check our HTML, let's say index, we're not even importing our JavaScript file anywhere. We've not even added the JavaScript file. Right? Not even at the top. Alright. Okay, so then tell me, how then is it working? Well, after everything with Webpack, right, you will have a Webpack config file, right, which you write all of these configuration. You have to learn how what it means. That's what I was telling you. Say, when we catch overspeeding, it's like, you have to type these things manually. Learn how what the meaning of this. We treat Webpack later. Alright. So at the end of the day, if you check this one, you see we have an output here, which has a file name, which is saying that at the end of the day, have a JS file and write a bundle.js file like that, right? So if we inspect this file, see that we have this distribution folder. I'll explain why there's a distribution folder later, but we have a distribution folder like this. And if you check our JavaScript, we only have one JavaScript file. So then it bundles all of our JavaScript code into what? One. And all you need is just one JavaScript file which points to, so if you check our index file, it has even been minified for us. Wait. But see that we only have what? One bundle file. Alright. So if I open Tonaton, so that brings me why I said I'm sad. Where is it? This is a Tonaton. Right. So if I open Tonaton and I inspect and I see, where is it? I see this. How do you think I feel about it? First of all, right off the bat, what I know is that you're a beginner. Get it? Because I won't write all of these things here. I know that, yes, it works because, well, you are importing all of the libraries into your JavaScript file because of what I did from Reset. Yeah, I still remember that view. You know, glad you didn't see it. Anyway, so I don't like.
I didn't see it.
Alright, so where is it? Jonathan, alright. Wait, this one, alright. Open the code. Alright, so yes, granted, I know that you can, come on, man. I know that you can do, let's close this. I know you can do, I know you can do this. I understand that you can do these things. But there's a better way of what doing it, which is using bundlers. We have another type of bundler, which is, how do you call it? Parcel. You know, we call it Parcel JS. We call it Parcel. Alright. So either you use Parcel or Webpack to bundle your files if you are using more than one file. And in that case, grab on, if you check your code, right? Where's the other one? This one, right? Good. If you check your code, this particular code, right, what you realize is that it will be easier to debug if there is a problem. Why? If there's a problem, all my JavaScript is not written started, right? I have implemented, like I was explaining to you, MVC. Right? I told you we have view, model, then controller. Right? In this case, the index is the controller. Then we have our view. I'll explain all of those things. And then we have our model. Right? So if I have, and that is what I meant by design patterns. Right? That if you check the Tonaton website, you realize that there's zero design pattern. Right? So, right. So it becomes very difficult for it to scale. On top of that, if I hand over this code to a professional web developer, right, who is on a level of this nature, he might even write me a love letter. Say, oh, he's really, really in love with me, blah, 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 blah. Right, but mostly what developers against a set, they run into a stupid person like, right? Some get even way upset that they scratch the whole code and then they rewrite the whole thing again. Because the hours that you spend debugging this thing is equal to rewriting the whole code. Anyway, I hope you understand. So we will treat Webpack at some point, but for now, let us stick with the understanding of what if you run into a situation where this is what the user have done. How then do you understand what is happening? So for now, let us navigate in these waters for a while. Then we move on to a much professional way of like doing things. I don't know. So what is today's lecture about? We will treat functions. Why is it I'm always treating functions? What is that? What is that about functions that every day functions? Alright, okay, fine. Anyway, so more on functions. Okay. What do you remember from the last time? What do you remember from our last time encounter? From the last lecture on functions? Question, answer. From the last time, right? I said that you usually will, everything is what? It's an object in Java. Everything is an object in Java, including functions. What do I mean by that? When I say function, test, ignore this one. Also, ignore test, and like, if I say also log test, like that, type of tests. Ah! Function. Wait, I'm coming. Oh, how do I get this? Anyway, you use another part. Anyway, so let's say you want to write a function to add two numbers, right? Why will you write a function to add two numbers? So that you can reuse that particular function over and over again. So let's say you have a function sum a sum of 10, 20, yeah, what? 30. Alright. But let us introduce something we call the this variable. Right. Let us write console.log what? Yes. What do we get? We get some strange thing B here. After we log the sum, we are console.logging this variable. We get a window with all of these things showing up. Yeah. Alright. So if we check this, alright, we can see that we can have access to something like let's see, length. Right. So let us go so this dot. Forget about why the dot is needed. And we see this dot length, we get 0. But it is a function. So why then does it have this and a dot operator? Well, then you ask yourself, what then is an object? Well, an object is, let's say, a type of data. Well, the data types, let's say data types we have is Boolean, we have number, we have string, we have the null, not a number, and then we have objects. Objects. Then we have functions. Right. Okay. We will see that these ones are primitive data types, and then these ones are primitive versus reference. So these are basically most of the data types that you run into, and then you ask yourself difference between primitive versus reference. Alright. Okay. Well, first of all, let us deal with how we will declare a variable. Are you following? How then do we declare a variable? We declare a variable by using the var keyword. Let's say x equals to 10. Console.log x, we get, okay, let us do var y equals to 20, we get 10 and 20. You understand? Okay, so if you say x equals to, at this point, if you say x equals to 15, what do we get? 15 and 20. What will happen if I write y equals to x? I'll get what? Okay. Wait. I want to enlarge this thing more. Okay. So what if I do this and I do x equals to? What will be the value? Why?
Because now x is 20. And it takes the
last answer. Last chance.
It will be 10 and 20.
declare a variable, right? It creates its own unique copy somewhere of each variable that you've declared, right? So in this variable declaration, right, x is 10, which is will have a unique place then. It is storing the variable x, right? Then in this particular case, right, it also have a unique place is storing the variable y. So at this point, x is equals to 10. Alright. At this point, y equals to x, which is equals to what? 10. Okay. So if we change the value of x, it is only x, it is what? Changing. Which is what?
10.
Right. So the value of y doesn't what? Because at this point it's what? So that's why it is called primitive. Alright. Okay. Then let's come back to object. Say the way we declare an object is writing the var keyword, let's say object, right, equals to first open and close parentheses, and you are using a key value there. Right. So let us say name Thomas. Alright. Alright. So if we do console.log objects, we have that name and then Thomas. This is a key and then the value. Alright. Are you following? But we call this one properties. Keep that in mind. Properties. So then how do you access this one? If you are console.log in this, we have all of this. What if we want to have access to the name? Right. Then we use a dot notation. We call dot notation. That's name. Alright, you save and you have Thomas. Then we have, let's say, last name, let's say let's say do. Let's try and do do. So let's do first name. And let's do first. Alright. So that and then last name. Right. So assuming we have another, let's say if this one is object 1, right? Then we say up2 equals to up1. If we do console.log up, let's do both 1 up2 object 2, right? If we save, we have the same thing. It is first name Thomas, last name Doe. Then what is the difference then? Okay, so assuming we do up, wait. First of all, if we want to change the value of the first name, right, we do object 1 dot first name equals to new Thomas. Right. So if we do console.log up1, we have new Thomas instead of what? Okay, let's just write old Thomas. Alright. Okay. So bringing that back, right? How to access and change object values, right? And then we do var up2 equals to 1. And we console.log object 1 and realize that we have almost the same thing. Right. So what if we do object one dot name equals to new name? What will be the value of object 2 name? What will be the value of object 1 name?
Object 1 will be new name, and then object 2 will be old name, old Thomas.
Let's see what will happen. Oh, sorry. Oh, ah. Alright, okay, good. So they are all like pointing to, they are all not unique copies, right? Even if at this point they are not unique copies like how primitive values, they are unique copies. Rather, they are pointing to a reference point in memory where the object is located. It's like an address. So if you assign object 1 to object 2, we are only giving the address of object 2 to what object 1. I mean object 1 to object 2. So it's like how do I call it? It is not the actual object that is being handed over to this particular object 2. It is only the reference or its address in memory that it is handing over to object 2. So whatever you do to object 1 affects object 2 because it's the same what address they are holding. Do you understand? So if I say object 1 dot last name equals to Smith, we all change to what? But if I do it in terms of variables, let's say var x equals to 10, var y equals to x equals to 300, also that's log x, y, they are what? Different. Do you understand? Akasa. So that is the difference between a primitive and an object, right? So then it becomes clear that with an object there is a what? Dot notation. To access any of its variable, we use what? Right. So then when we write a function like this, oh come on. If you write a function test, we console.log this, and if you call the function, and then we have all of these properties, and we can access some of its properties by using a dot notation. Let's say dot length, which gives you 0. Then a function is what? Thank you. So we always say that in JavaScript, we say that everything is what? An object except primitive values, which is Boolean, how do you call it? Primitive data types are
Boolean number string.
present.
What exercise?
Yeah, Boolean no string. You understand? Okay. So then it is important then that we have a better look at what objects are and how they work in JavaScript before we can make any meaningful progress. You don't think so? But if you say that everything is an object in JavaScript, then our focal point in terms of programming should be what? Object. So we hear this thing a lot. Oh, gee, it is object-oriented programming. Means that everything that they are doing is what? In terms of an object. So it is important we understand the inside and outside of what objects are. But first of all, we have to understand how to create an object. Have to understand how to create an object. Antoinette.
Hey, include also your class.
I will hopefully be able to say.
Hey.
You guys are. I'm going for. I was going to say. Share out you. Tell me. What be your mind? That's fine. What's up? There'll be no man quit. Mind the holiday. Next week off. Anyway, what's up? At the episode comes so it's important for us to know how we create an object. So how then do we create an object? I think we've already touched that. So let us say we want an object where we have the user. Right? We have the name, fee, email, fee@gmail.com. If we console what? Hey, console user, what do we get? That we can do user name, right? Email, that's it. Right. So if we say this one is user 1, right, then we can do user 2, which is equal to, let's say, name Jonathan. Email is what? Jonathan@gmail.com. So we can do user 1, user 2. Alright, and this is what we have. Do you understand? Alright. So, what if we have thousands users to create? That means that we have to create this, write these things 1,000 times, which is not the best way of programming. So then it will be great if we have a blueprint that we can go to and then have the object created. I don't know if you understand. Right. So what we can do is that the blueprint is usually called a function constructor. What do I mean by that? It's right. You can say const. These are, if you watch the structure of the object, right? You see that what runs through them is the name, email. So before you create an object, what you need is name and then email. So how you write the function constructor is the function constructor. Right? You write by saying const, let's say big user. Start with what? Capital U. Usually when you're writing a constructor, you see it right, even if it's employees, you see a capital letter, you use capital letter. It is not by force requirements, but convention. Right? So you usually see capital followed by function. Just the same way of name, email, like that. Right. But before we move forward, let us add something to this and make it confusing small. Alright. We have a console.log this. Alright. What do I mean by that? I can only show it to you if I write the code. Alright. So let's say you want to write a new user which have a name of Jonathan and then an email of Jonathan at email. So how do you do that? So you can say const user, right? Because the new capital user, the name of Jonathan and an email of Jonathan at gmail.com. Alright. Okay. So you see that we get a console of log of what? Right, let us open this one. See that it comes with this proto which says what? And then the object creates what? There's another proto which says what? And then you see that it ends. There's no. It's important you understand this part. Right. You see that this is the first user. The first user has a proto of what? Right. If you move this one further, you see and scroll downwards. She has another proto, right, of object. Then you see that you don't see any proto again. So it ends at it being what? An object, just an object, right? So then you see that this is a child of the main object construct. It's an instance of an object. What do you mean by an instance of an object? An instance of an object is a copy of an object. It's like in the Bible they say God created us in his own image. So you are an image of what? Right. So user is an instance of the big user is an instance of the big object, data type object itself, right? And then this particular user, right? If you watch console.info user, it's a little bit tricky here. Let me take this one out. Right. You see that this is you understand? Right. It's a little bit tricky. There's a reason why I'm doing all of these things, because it's important you understand objects. So this console.info is coming from where? This one. If we open this one, we see that it is, first of all, it is a user object, right? Alright, and then we have the proto, this one, then we have this one, which ends at an object, right? So you see that it's like an instance of one instance on top of the other, right? And it ends at the one that has the constructor of that particular object instance. Okay, so let's skip that part. All right, so then how then do we get the Jonathan and then this one to work? All right. Okay, we can say that do it by saying this dot name equals to name variable that we pass here. This dot email is equals to the email that we pass. So if we console.log this in the user, we have name Jonathan and then email being Jonathan and then the name is what? Jonathan. So we can have access to the name variable through here by doing console log user It's right by here. Is there any question mark there? So we can create, let's see, user one, let's see, user two plus user feed at Gmail. So we can have multiple users. One, two. Let's take out this. So we can create another user again. User 3 equals to name. So you can create the object with this particular blueprint like this. Okay. So an object blueprint can take a function too as well for it to perform certain operations for you depending on what you want to do. Right? So in case of this one, what if we want it to return, want to get the full name, right, of this particular function? First of all, let us comment this one out. First of all, let's do this, right, and come to the raw user. Let's say const user equals to let's say name Thomas, right? Email thomas@gmail.com. You understand after this point? If we console log the name, we get that. But what if we want something like full name? We want the full name without having to do the name and then the email. Then we can pass something we call a function as well. Let's say full name should be a function. And then let us say console.log this. Right? You understand? Up to this point. Right. So it is just an object, right, with this property, which is a function like this. You know how to write a function, right? Okay. But all this is doing is that it's console.log.
So this one, is it this one is working on this one, which is working?
No, it is. Let's take out this one. We've not even touched it yet. Alright. Alright, so then how do we access these properties on a on the object? We use a dot notation, right? Okay, so if we do user dot name, you will not get anything because you're not console.log anything. Alright? So if we have to do console dot user dot, I will give you that.
So this console.log is not doing anything.
No, it's just displaying what is in that particular variable. It's just like saying var x equals to 10. If I write x here, nothing happens. But if I write x in this particular situation, just return the value of x. But what we are trying to do here in terms of our code is to display it in the console. So instead of having to come and type x here over and over again, we have a method in JavaScript where we can do console.log x, which gives you that in your console.
So
Yeah, I'm listening. Emma.
So if write this here, it will come
What?
for this one.
You write what?
This one.
What would you write it?
This
That would be the window.
for that one.
So if I write user, oh, come on. Okay. If we write, alright. So to display this particular in window, you just write the property, the variable name, and it will give you this, right? But you, in terms of programming, you don't want to go back and forth of having to type them here. So there's a simpler method of just using console.log and to give you that in the console. Other than having to come back to write, let's see. Right. Other than having to come and write user here, which is the same. This one is the same as this particular thing. You understand? Okay. Any question? If you're not too clear, you can say it. Question. Oh fuck. It's a little bit confusing, but if you wrap your mind around it, you understand. Alright, let's come to the console. Come on. Alright, so we have const user, which is an object, has a name, email, and then a full name, which is a function that console.log this. Alright? Alright, so if we say user.full name, you know it's a function. And the only way we can have a function to do is to invoke it by using open and close parent. Okay. Alright. If we save it, we have this variable which is coming from, let us add more achievements to it so that we know where it is coming from. It is coming from here. Right. What is coming from here is what? The name, which is Thomas, and then the email, which is what? Thomas@gmail. So then in this particular function we can do console.log this.name. What will it give us? We know from functions that we can either return a function, we can return the values from a function too as well.
So if you clean this one, will this one stay here?
Which one?
Should clean this one.
Then you're not doing anything, it will still be there. But when we do user here, we have Thomas, that. Or we can say full name as a function here. And see it has a prototype too as well. Right. And it has a length of what?
Sure.
And then the name of the function as well. Right. So it's in the prototype. It is embedded as a property in the user object. Alright. Okay, let us make it a little bit confusing for you. Do you understand up to this point? Alright, so I can say that let us do users. Right. So I can say that to get the full name, I want to do return this. Okay, let's say const user name user full name equals this dot name plus space plus this dot. Let's do first name, last name. That makes a little bit of sense. Alright. So if I say console log user dot full, I'd rather use camel case. Pardon me. Camel case. Oh, come on. Hi, what do you mean by understand? Okay. You want to return? No, no. You understand? Forget all that part. Let's just say we want the full name. Let us just console.log. It's okay. We are not returning any value or storing any value. So we say console dot this dot first and the results. Let us not confuse ourselves. So we take this out and we say user dot full name is function call. We get Thomas and friends. You understand? Are you sure? Okay. But check this out. So if we create another user, right? User 2. Let's say user 2 equals to name James. Right. First name James. Okay, that's why is all of this thing important? We cannot do that. Last name no. What if with this one I don't write get full name, but I rather will do get order. I rather get email. Use a function. Alright. Let's show how my email address. James. And let's go return. Let's do console. We forget about it. Console. You understand? So assuming we want to call the get email function like user 2 dot get email, which is James at email.com. You understand?
Email in a function.
Alright. means that if we write user 2 dot get full name, it won't work. Why?
That one is not in information.
Good.
It's not information.
So it means that if we want to use the full name, we have to also copy it where?
In the information.
So if we want to write, if we have 1,000 functions, means that in each user we have to copy the function 1,000 times. Alright? We are creating 10 million users, means that in every user we have to create a get full name function, get assuming there's other type of functions that fit. So how then do we solve this thing? Right? Then we come to the function constructor. We can say first we know that the function constructor is a user with a function which takes what? Name, let's say first name, last name, email. Alright. We know that this variable is the instance of that particular object. Alright. So this will be the first name equals to first name, and this last name equals to last name. Do you understand? Where's mine? Are you with me?
So you put all of them in one function.
Yeah. So to create, let's say const user equals to new user James gmail.com. Oh, let's use Smith. James@gmail.com.
But this we left out the email one.
Do you understand? So if we do console.log user dot first, let's do console.log user. So we have the first name is what? James. The last name is Smith. Then we have this. Then we have string some object proto here. Alright. Okay. Then we can also see that. Okay, fine. Then if that is the case, we can say this dot get full name. Right. Maybe equals the function which also what this dot first alright. Well, let us try and then overlook it. Okay. So if we do the console.log of the user, right, which is here, right, and then we created this inside the constructor function, right. If you inspect, you see that the function is where it's here, right. So if we create another user, let's say const user 2, which is equals to this new user, right, John, and then we have Joe, right, we have John@gmail.com, and do console.log user 2. The get full name is also what? There. So it means that you don't need to rewrite all of the functions. Let's see another one as well. This dot get email equals to the function console.log this dot email. Compared to the first one, you see that you still have your get email in here, which is a function. So we can just write let's get. So we can do user 2.get email. Say, that's it. So in this one, we don't have to manually input the functions inside the object itself every time we are creating the object. You get it? All right. But somebody will say that, okay, this is not an efficient way of we call these things methods, right? These functions methods, and these are properties. These are methods because it does something. Like driving a car is a method. How do you call it? Like it does something for you, so it's like a method. But properties are just static. How do you call it? Variables. It doesn't do anything. You just have the values of whatever variable you're specifying just there, right? Somebody will tell you that this is not an efficient way of writing the method inside an object. Why? Okay, if we do, let's keep the get email. If we do console.log user2, right? And you open it, you see that we have the get email here, get full name here, but we have this object type here, which is in its proto, and it comes with all of these what methods. It has this constructor. If you open this one, it comes with all of these what methods, which can be accessed using the dot notation, right? Then instead of recreating this method on every instance of that particular object, right, in terms of data size, then what if we can add it to its proto and become part of these methods, because these prototypes will be added to the object anyway, because they are instance of that particular object. What do I mean by that? Okay, if I write const user 3, alright, and I write new user, and let's say Jane, right? Call, right? And I say Jane gmail.com, right? If I do console.log user 3, it still comes with this same proto thing which have these objects and then its method. So adding this to the instance of, how do you call it? Adding these ones to the instance of the user is like double work. If it's going to come with the proto, why not put it in the proto instead of having to add it to the object itself? What do I mean by that? Okay, so then you can take out this, right, and then rewrite it as user.prototype dot whatever that you are trying to do. Like get full name of the function. That's console.slog this dot name this. This is the first name. This dot last name. Okay. Right. If you inspect it, you see that you don't have the method in here as part of the object instance, but it is in it what? Prototype. So if you go to the log, these are two, right? Don't have that part of populated as its method, but it is in it what? Proto. Any question? We don't understand why it is like. You understand why it is like that later, but understand why it is in here, how it became part of this proto instead of it being here. You understand? I'll explain why. You see why it is important. First of all, you initially do understand why you have to create objects this way, right? But it's becoming more apparent to you. But let's just say instead of having to write this particular function, get full name here, right? Instead of having to write it in here to be part of the instance of the object, you can write it as part of it what? Prototype, which puts it the function inside it what? Proto. You understand? Right. So if I say user2 dot length, say undefined. Nah, I don't want this one. I don't want this. Okay. Where is it? The value. No, I don't know how to use this one. Let us use has on property. Right. So if I say that get full name, right? Let's say you just do user2 dot get full name, right? That gives us the name of the user, right? But if I write user2 dot has on property, let's say first name, see, right? But we don't have has on property method in here. Not even to its prototype. So where did it come from?
Was inside.
Where? Where?
Inside.
No, I didn't really see that part. Where did it come from? Right. So if you do console.log, how do you call it? User2. Right. By first opening this one, you see that it doesn't exist in here, right? Which is part of this initial instance of the object. This one, which is this one. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But we have this proto here. If you open this proto, then you now get the what? The full name inside its prototype, right? But still we can't see the has on property, right? Then it goes down, and then we have the has on property what here, which gives you, I mean, the way of calling it. Okay, so you can do has property. Its name. I want us to see if I can access the length. Wait, I'm coming. Maybe let us one thing at a time. Right. Okay. Has on property method being here. Right? Right? Huh? Okay. So then it looks like at this point there is no proto again. So it ends where here, which is what? And wait, eventually makes sense. Arbitrary. Good, which is an what?
Object.
Right. So it's like it looks. First of all, the parser will look to the instance to see if it will get the method that you are calling. Let's see. it will look through itself to see if it can find the method that you are calling. Well, if it doesn't, the next thing it will look for is through its what prototype, right? If it doesn't find it, it will then go further to look at the object that created its method to see if it can find it, right? If it then finds it, then you get whatever that you are trying to do. Let's just say we want something like, we write something like, say display content, right? Say it's not a function. Funny that. Oh fuck. So if you say display content, if you write display content, you see immediately it throws an error that it is not what? It is not a function. Why? Because after going through all of this, passing here, it doesn't find any of it's in it, how do you call it? Prototype, right? So then, what it does is that it will throw an error. So if it finds it, then it will perform a particular method for you. So depending on what type of object that you are using, right? Like let's say, let's comment this one. It becomes more apparent to arrays because that is what I'm used to. Let's just say const users, right? Let's say done. Yeah. If you see this, see in its prototype, this is what? Good. The array comes with what? These things. Alright. So we have the length property where here. So it is for that reason you can have what? Length, which gives you what? So it's not by magic we can do that. Dot length here. So you just say dot main where you get what? Undefined. And if you do dot length, it gives you, so because it is in its what? Thank you. So if it will check through the immediate prototype to see whatever method that you are calling on, if it is part of it. So these are the values, and that come in arrays. You can have a zero index by accessing, you access the values with index, because 0 is what here, where? Here, 0, 1. So if you write 0 here, it gives you what? John. It gives you 1, that. Philip. So if you write 4, undefined, because 4 is not what? There. You understand? So I can then come in here, look at each prototype to see all the methods that I can perform on an array data type. That is how come I can also do, if you see, you see push. Press push. Yeah. Push here. So I can do something like users of push. Give me a name. Push one. If I do console.log users, I get what? Blah 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 with what?
Push needs to be added.
Thank you. So if I do users dot pop
That's would reduce.
Yeah. So if you write console dot, if you check this one, the prototype, the pop is what? In here. Alright. So the prototype is like where they've stored all the functions that you can use on a particular data type there. So that's how come it makes sense to always put your functions like these ones in the prototype, so say it will be easier for the, how do you call it, the browser to reach your function that you are calling through the prototype than having to make a copy of it in the, how do you call it, the object itself. I don't know if you understand. So usually what you find is that if you are declaring a method, you put it in their prototype because mostly that is how where you've stored most of the methods you can perform on a particular data type. I always don't know why I can't find the string one. User equals, let's see, Thomas. See the data type because you can also perform things like user dot length on that one you get 6. Alright. Okay, you can even do users. Yeah, I want to see the prototype. I always see some I'll find out. I always don't get it. Alright. So that's how come you create, let's go over what we do. So we create a user blueprint as a function. And we pass the arguments that we will need to create the particular instance of the object, right? In this case, how do you call it? This uses user 1, user 2. Let's keep this one going. Right? User 1, user 2, user 3 are instances of what? Because Jonathan is an instance of what? A human being. You get it? And you have first name, last name, and email. And that's how come Christians, you should take spirituality a little bit serious. Because if you are an image of God and you can inherit all the properties of God, it means you can do everything God can do. Right? So it inherits all of these methods being specified in it, what? Prototype. So you can do user 2 dot get full name, which can be accessed through its what? Prototype. And if it is unaccessible in its prototype, it will look further down to what created that particular object, or whoever created that particular instance. Is it an object? Is it an array? Okay, fine. If it is an array, looking through its prototype, the method that you are specifying, is it in its immediate instance? No. If it is not, you look through the particular object, the data type that created this prototype, to see if it can find that particular method. If it can't find it, then it goes down until it finds it. If it doesn't, and it ends at that particular data type, then it throws an error for you to say, okay, fine. It can't find the method that you are looking out for. Right? So we call it prototype chain. You understand? Yeah, sure. All right. Any question? So we call it prototype chain. And so that's prototype chain for you and the creation of an object. Alright. Let me make it more. Let's visit another topic where scope. Let's just say you have a function, right? Then we have x equals to 20. Probably the value of x.
The value of x.
Oh. Fast. What is the value of x?
20.
So why is it that when this one is inside, you get error? Why? Let me even make it more confusing for you. Oh, come on. Let me make it more confusing. Let me make it more confusing. I didn't quite, or she hasn't quite, yes, quite.
So, I say what console will be outside the function.
So, what does it mean?
So here it doesn't know x outside the function.
Right.
So that's how come when you bring the x outside the function, it has to know it.
So, data within outside the function, inside the function cannot be accessed by outside, cannot be accessed from outside.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it has to be accessed in the function.
In the function. So, if I do what will be the console of that for? What the value? What is the value of this one?
This one, 20.
I don't know. This one is what?
This one be 20, this one be 20.
So we have 20. Right.
Inside the function be 10, outside the function be 20.
Which one comes first?
The outside the function comes first.
Okay. Okay. I want this one to come first. What would the value of x? Yeah.
Inside the function has to be 100.
I said you.
20.
I said to be what?
20.
Good. If you think you're smart, that doesn't mean much. So let's see it first, right?
aside the differentiate. X is in we still because x is in the first function. We've cancelled out one in the second function.
Mhm. How do we get this console unlocked to work?
Not to bring it in the
No,
first.
I want to copy x to be in the second function.
You want the x to be.
Mm.
You have to bring the var x in the second function. Oh, it's not working. It's not working.
Having console is wrong. First. Only first one.
Yes, because we've not declared the second.
From where?
Come again?
I should write second here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
But how come the first one looks like that?
Okay, so I don't want to write the value of this one first.
It's working.
You have to call the function first. And we know that in terms of this, right, you cannot access this function from outside. We know it from the variables. You can access this one because it is inside this particular function.
So this function is in the first function.
Right.
Okay.
So as it is in the first function, right, we can't access it outside the first function.
Function, okay.
Right.
So we call it in the first function.
So we call it scope.
Okay.
Alright. Okay, so it's now that we know how we get it to work. Right. So assuming we have x equals to 20. Right. Or b if you write outcome also log x, what will be the value?
We will give you
Huh? Boluta, that's a shout. Chaluto, that's a try.
we will give you 20.
Okay, so let's put this, yeah, will work. What will be the value of it? You still don't understand. Try me. Try me. 105. 20. Okay, so we call it scope chain. What is outside a function cannot be accessed by the inner function. No. What is inside a function cannot be accessed by the outside function. But the inner function can access the outside function variables. Keep in mind, an inner function can access an outside function variable. So, but an outside function cannot access an inner function's variable. An outside function cannot access the variables of an inner function, but an inner function can access the variable of an outside function. So it's like inside can access outside, outside can access inside. What do I mean by that? If you watch this code, this is an inner function, alright? It can access the variable of what? An outside function. You get it? We are calling the inner function what? Here, which is what? This. So an inner function can access the variables of what? An outside function. Let's just make it simple by saying that function test constant log x. Let us write over x equals to 10. You can access this by first calling the test function, which is this one. So an inner function, which is this one, can access the value of an outside variable, which is this one. Do you understand? But it also can access the variable of itself because it is inside what? Same function. Right. Okay. So if we put another function here, can we call second from here?
No,
Why?
because the second is inside the function. We are calling it outside the function.
Right. So means we can only call second function from what?
The first function.
But we will have to call which one first?
The first one.
So test calls itself, which calls what? Second. Let's do first. Okay, and then we want to have access to the variables, right? So let's say x equals to 20. So the same principle. An inner function can have access to each one. Outer function. So from second, right, you can have access to its outer variables. True? Right. So we can cancel the log
X.
x, which is what? 20. Okay. Let's make it more complicated. Can we call third from here? Good job. So we can scope next time. Okay. Alright. But you could just, we can just write down anyway because we are already there. So if we can already access oh fuck. Right. Okay. So let's just say inside here we have var y equals to you get an error. An outer function you cannot get access to, variables of another function. So it's like this one, the variables are private to this particular function. And then this one, all of its content is private to this. Alright. Okay. So we can't call third from here. Anyway. Because third is only available to what?
The second.
The second.
Function.
It's only available to the second function. And we can't access y2 as well. Oh, come on. Y from here. Because y is only available to what? The third function. Yeah, only available to the third function. You get an error. Hope you understand. Alright. That's it for today. Thank you for coming. So I'll produce the video. If you have any problem, 2 hours.